We are following 4 MS-13 gang members have been arrested and charged with murder.
Investigation. 13 Lufkin gang members have been indicted. An Angelina County grand jury handed up first-degree felonies for engaging in criminal activity.
Chuco Tango gang, and it was the target of this raid as part of a large-scale drug trafficking investigation.
Gang. Arrest affidavits allege these men are all members of the 59 Bounty Hunters Bloods gang.
Now, according to court documents we've reviewed, Nix is charged with directing activities of certain criminal street gangs. These are felony charges.
Texas has seen a significant rise in gang-related crimes, prompting local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies to launch major investigations and indictments against some of the most dangerous criminal organizations operating in the state. These gangs, including JaccBoyWorld, 5'9" Bounty Hunter Bloods, Chuco Tango, Money Chasing Forever Crips, MS-13, Southwest Cholos, and the 100% Third Ward Gang have been linked to a variety of violent offenses such as deletion, drug and firearm trafficking, human smuggling, and organized criminal activity. Authorities have conducted coordinated raids and long-term investigations, resulting in numerous arrests, convictions, and federal indictments. Some of the most high-profile cases include the racketeering charges against Houston rapper OMB Bloodbath, the life sentence of DeAndre Watson for a 2017 drive-by deletion, and Operation Rockwater, which led to the arrests of Chuco Tango gang members involved in drug distribution and violent crime. The Southwest Cholos case further highlighted the horrific reality of human trafficking, as victims, including minors, were forced under gang control. With gang-related violence affecting urban and rural communities alike, law enforcement agencies are intensifying their efforts to disrupt these criminal networks and bring offenders to justice.
New details tonight following a months-long multi-agency investigation. 13 Lufkin gang members have been indicted. An Angelina County grand jury handed up first-degree felonies for engaging in criminal activity. Authorities say the indictments stem from several incidents, including a January shooting in front of Lufkin Middle School, a February police pursuit involving a stolen vehicle, and a drive-by shooting in June. We spoke to a local attorney about these recent indictments. He says organized crime is more common in border states like Texas, but as surveillance techniques continue to improve, so does the ability of law enforcement agencies to make more arrests.
In custody with several gang-related shootings, police were called to the 800 block of Abney Avenue because shots were fired there. 18-year-old D'Corian Haywood right there originally gave detectives the wrong identity, but eventually arrested for organized criminal activity. He's only 18. He's one of 13 people indicted for the shooting in front of Lufkin Middle School last year.
With breaking news from Lufkin, a teen shot in front of Lufkin Middle School last night has now been identified. The incident happened in the horseshoe drive of the school, where 17-year-old LaPatrick Wright of Nacogdoches was hit after a brief exchange with two black men. Officials say there was a basketball game on campus. Police are still searching for those involved.
Following a months-long, multi-agency investigation, 13 alleged members of the Lufkin-based gang JaccBoyWorld have been indicted for engaging in organized criminal activity. The charges stem from multiple gang-related incidents, including the January 29 shooting of LaPatrick Wright in front of Lufkin Middle School, a February 5 police pursuit involving a stolen pickup resulting in 3 arrests and the recovery of firearms, and a June 26 drive-by shooting in the 600 block of West Grove Avenue. In the latter incident, 2 adults and 4 children under the age of 8 were present in the yard, but no injuries were reported. For the safety of Lufkin citizens, it was critical to remove these suspects from the streets and bring them to justice, said Police Chief David Thomas.
A gang member has been arrested. D'Corian Haywood was the suspect in a multi-agency investigation. There he is right there. Police finally tracking him down, found him in the passenger seat of a car of all things. He had several warrants, including 4 charges of deadly conduct.
A Lufkin gang member pleaded guilty to deletion, deadly conduct, and evading arrest in an Angelina County court. He was sentenced to 30 years for deletion, with additional sentences for deadly conduct and evading arrest running concurrently. Haywood was one of 3 individuals charged in the January 18, 2022, shooting demise of D'Corian Glenn in Dibble. The other 2 suspects also faced charges. According to arrest affidavits, Haywood, his stepbrother, Albro, uncle, Robertson, and an unidentified 4th person used a borrowed SUV to drive from Lufkin to Dibble. The group encountered Glenn in a parking lot at the intersection of Cypress Street and Robert Nash Street, leading to a confrontation that resulted in Glenn's fatal shooting. Glenn's family expressed mixed emotions following Haywood's sentencing. His sister stated 30 years is not enough. D'Corian was not a street thug, he lived for his family. Haywood had prior indictments between 2020 and 2022, including possession of marijuana, unlawful possession of a weapon, evading arrest, deadly conduct, and bail jumping.
We are learning more tonight about a raid last week that resulted in charges for 8 members of an East Texas gang. Arrest affidavits allege these men are all members of the 59 Bounty Hunters Bloods gang. And court documents obtained by KLTV7 reveal several of these men are linked to a Kilgore from earlier this year. These arrest affidavits include more details about the raid conducted last week at this home along Stone Road in Kilgore. The home belonging to the man police say is the ringleader, 32-year-old Michael Wilson, a man police say was feared around town. In the early hours of last Tuesday morning, local and federal law officers seized several guns, vehicles, trailers, ledgers, and drugs, along with close to $24,000 in cash. The affidavits also reveal a link to the fatal shooting of Gregory Williams along North Street in Kilgore back in April. The documents claim video surveillance from the day after shows Wilson at this house on Parkwood Drive holding a mop. The video also shows Kevin Ross Tenney Jr. using a rag to wipe down a glass door that Wilson used following the night of the Investigators believe Wilson and Tenney were likely using the rag to, quote, tamper, fabricate, or conceal evidence in connection with the murder. They later found that mop and rag partially burned. The documents also show that Wilson's clothing in the video is consistent with descriptions from witnesses.
Arrest affidavits have provided further insight into the recent apprehension of multiple gang members of the 5'9" Bounty Hunter Bloods in the Kilgore area, linking some of them to an unsolved deletion. A law enforcement raid conducted on Tuesday, September 1, at a residence on Stone Road in Kilgore. According to the affidavits, the home belonged to Michael Wilson, who authorities identify as the leader of the group. The documents allege that all 8 men charged in the case are members of the 5'9" Bounty Hunter Bloods gang. Officers confiscated multiple vehicles, ledgers, illegal drugs, and nearly $24,000 in cash. The affidavits also establish a connection between the suspects and the fatal shooting of Gregory Williams on Kilgore's North Street in April 2020. Williams suffered multiple gunshot wounds, and witnesses reported seeing the suspect flee the scene. Newly obtained arrest records indicate that surveillance footage from the day after the deletion captured Michael Wilson at a residence on Parkwood Drive, west of Kilgore, holding a mop. The footage also reportedly shows Kevin Ross Tenney Jr. using a rag to wipe down a glass doorway that Wilson had used the night of the deletion. Investigators believe Wilson and Tenney were attempting to tamper, fabricate, or conceal evidence related to the crime. Both the mop and rag were later discovered partially burned. Additionally, Wilson's attire in the surveillance video closely matches witness descriptions from the crime scene. A search of the Parkwood Drive residence led officers to seize drugs, along with cash believed to be proceeds from drug sales. Kilgore Police Chief Todd Hunter described the gathered evidence as a treasure trove of intelligence on the gang, including more than 40 seized cell phones.
Targeting members of and affiliates of the Chuco Tango gang. It's all part of a large-scale drug trafficking investigation.
Estela, Thursday morning's operation resulted in the arrest of 21 individuals related to the Chuco Tango gang. That is according to the U.S. Attorney Jaime Esparza. All these individuals suspected of serious drug and firearm offenses. Now, the arrest taking place across the borderland in southern New Mexico and West Texas, targeting El Paso, Socorro, Horizon, Las Cruces, and Anthony, New Mexico. The operations conducted in conjunction by federal, state, local, and tribal law enforcement agencies.
Across the borderland, FBI agents arrested 21 members of the Chuko Tango gang in multiple early morning raids. Some of the raids happened in West El Paso. One was on the 600 block of Westway Boulevard.
The other on the 7300 block of Lakehurst Road. The announcement was made during a news conference about 1 hour ago.
I want to show you video of the scene that we got earlier this morning in West El Paso, that is of Lakehurst Road, as FBI agents were searching a home, which we now know was connected to these arrests. Officials say the individuals arrested today were suspected of serious drug and firearm offenses associated with the local gang known as Chuco Tango. They are charged with a combination of statutes related to possession with intent to distribute cocaine.
A coordinated operation targeted the prison-born gang known as Chuco Tango in raids across El Paso. The operation resulted in the arrest of 22 individuals, including accused Chuco Tango gang members, associates, and drug dealers. They faced charges related to the distribution of various drugs and illegal firearms. The arrests occurred in multiple locations, including El Paso, Horizon City, Socorro, and Las Cruces and Anthony, New Mexico. Due to the high number of arrests, detainees were processed at the El Paso County Coliseum. Charges against the suspects range from drug conspiracy and possession with intent to distribute to unlawful possession of firearms by felons.
In other news, according to the El Paso FBI, in a successfully multi-agency-led operation, Michelle Angelica Pineda, known as La Cheli, was arrested in El Paso on Thursday. Pineda was wanted by the Mexican government for her alleged involvement in multiple in Ciudad Juarez. Law enforcement says Pineda had entered the U.S. illegally and was allegedly operating a drug trafficking ring for a gang out of Mexico.
Michelle Angelica Pineda was arrested yesterday. She's wanted in Mexico for her alleged involvement in fire and is suspected of multiple other Ciudad Juarez. Local law enforcement, including the FBI Safe Street Gang Task Force, learned that Pineda had entered into the United States illegally and was allegedly operating a drug trafficking ring from a gang from Mexico.
Chuco Tango has been linked to Michelle Angelica Pineda, also known as La Cheli, a Juarez-based leader of the Aristas Asesinos Street Gang. Pineda is accused of leading a violent group that mutilated victims in ritualistic deletions dedicated to La Santa Muerte. Intelligence from the El Paso Police Department revealed communication between Pineda and Chuco Tango members, leading to her February arrest at an East El Paso motel. She was subsequently deported to Mexico, where she faces multiple deletion charges. Chuco Tango, named after the local nickname El Chuco for El Paso, is the city's faction of the larger Tango Blast gang, which operates in major Texas cities. Unlike hierarchical prison gangs like Barrio Azteca and the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas, Chuco Tango functions with a decentralized leadership structure. The gang does not enforce a blood-in, blood-out rule for membership and operates in loosely organized cells outside of prison. The gang has been involved in violent conflicts with the Barrio Azteca gang, particularly due to its refusal to pay a street tax for drug trafficking operations in El Paso. Tango Blast originated as a prison self-protection group and has grown into a network of loosely affiliated factions across Texas. The original Tango groups, known as the Four Horsemen, include Houston, D-Town, Dallas, Cerritos, Fort Worth, and ATX, Austin. Other factions include Tango Orijon in San Antonio, West Texas, Carpitos, Corpus Christi, and the Valucos from the Rio Grande Valley. Law enforcement agencies continue to monitor the expansion of Chuco Tango and other Tango Blast factions, focusing on their role in drug trafficking and violent crime in Texas and beyond. 5 alleged members of the money-chasing Forever Crip gang have been arrested in connection with an ongoing THC and Mary J trafficking operation in Abilene, Texas. On Monday, Crip members were taken into custody as part of the investigation. They faced charges of possession of Mary J., manufacture delivery of a controlled substance, and engaging in organized criminal activity. According to court documents, all 5 suspects were present at the April search warrant execution, which led to the discovery of 13 pounds of Mary J., 90 grams of THC oil, 2 AK-47 firearms, and nearly $7,000 in cash inside a residence in North Abilene. Authorities also confiscated cell phones from the suspects, revealing conversations about organizing and completing drug sales. Investigators found thousands of images of large amounts of Mary J., THC oil, and cash stored on the suspect devices. Additionally, messages on Thompson's phone referenced plans to assemble a team to rob another local drug dealer. Several of the suspects were arrested on additional charges during the course of the investigation, including offenses related to large cash transactions and evading arrest. 3 of the 5 gang members were sentenced to probation, while the other 2 received jail time for their involvement in the operation.
We are following 4 MS-13 gang members have been arrested and charged with. Houston police say these 4 men stabbed Victor Castro Martinez to death, Marlon Miranda, Wilson Ventura Mejia, Miguel Aguilar Ochoa, and Carlos Enrique Torres. They are 18 to 33 years old. Castro Martinez's body was found in the woods in southeast Houston back in June. Authorities say they believe these suspects could also be tied to at least 7 other. A press conference now getting underway where more arrests may be announced.
11 members of the notorious MS-13 gang have been arrested and charged with 5 deletions committed in the Houston area over 2 months. The brutality of these crimes should shake any decent person, said Mayor Sylvester Turner. The first of these violent deletions took place on June 6, when 4 MS-13 gang members lured one of their own to Cullinan Park and fatally attacked him with a machete. According to Houston Police Chief Art Acevedo, Castro Martinez met his demise because he was suspected of associating with a rival gang. His burned-out car was found on June 8 near a retention pond in northwest Houston. 2 additional MS-13 members are suspected of involvement in the June 6 deletion. They are currently in custody in Liberty County for their alleged role in the July 3rd of another MS-13 gang member. On August 1st, police discovered the body of a man in a field in the 5300 block of W. Fuqua Street in southwest Houston. Investigators believe he was deleted in Galveston before his body was dumped in Houston. 3 days later, 4 MS-13 members fatally shot 25-year-old Johnny Torres outside La Union Mexican restaurant on Wilcrest Drive. Surveillance footage revealed that an argument inside the restaurant escalated into a targeted shooting as Torres exited the building. Police confirmed that Torres had no affiliation with the gang. Authorities arrested a 17-year-old who allegedly drove the getaway car, along with a 20-year-old and a juvenile suspect. On August 9, investigators found the body of a teenage girl who had been reported missing in May. Her remains were discovered in the same area where the August 1st victim was found. While the girl was not a gang member, she had ties to MS-13. The deletions occurred between May and August 2018, underscoring the gang's violent presence in Houston. Houston Police Chief Art Acevedo stated that there are approximately 400 known MS-13 members in the city and around 800 in the region. With an estimated 20,000 gang members in Houston overall, MS-13 remains one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in the area.
Federal prosecutors say the Southwest Cholos used the valley as a midpoint for a 1,700-mile sex trafficking ring, ranging from Cancun to Houston. They say the group promised restaurant jobs to women who lived outside the United States. The indictment says the women were smuggled across the border, ending up in stash houses in the valley. Prosecutors say next, the Southwest Cholos would tell the women they're in debt and force them to work in brothels. Would happen in Houston after Southwest Cholos got the women through the Sarita and Falfurrias checkpoints. One defendant in particular faced charges earlier this year for allegedly smuggling people. A Homeland Security investigator says Jose Ruben Palomo Martinez drove a tractor-trailer to the Falfurrias checkpoint, claiming It was full of melons. Using an X-ray scanner, the agent says they found 2 Chinese nationals and a Dominican man with no restraints, no food, and no water.
The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Texas has announced that several alleged members and associates of the Southwest Cholos street gang were indicted on a range of charges, including sex trafficking, drug trafficking, firearm sales, human smuggling, and identity theft. The defendants are charged as members or affiliates of the Southwest Cholos and face multiple counts, including conspiracy charges, sex trafficking by force, fraud or coercion, sex trafficking of a minor, interstate transportation, human smuggling, and importation of aliens for illegal purposes. Additionally, they are accused of drug trafficking involving drugs, illegal firearms trafficking, possession of firearms by felons, illegal re-entry into the U.S., false statements, and aggravated identity theft. According to the indictment, the gang operated multiple brothels in apartments across Houston and Mexico, with the Carriageway apartment complex on Dashwood serving as their primary hub for sex trafficking, drug distribution, and firearms sales. Victims, many of whom were undocumented immigrants, were falsely promised jobs in restaurants to pay off their smuggling debts. However, upon arriving in Houston, they were forced into gang-controlled brothels. Authorities allege that the defendants used threats and violence against victims and their families if they refused to comply or failed to meet financial quotas. In some cases, victims were tattooed with the names or nicknames of gang members, marking them as property and reinforcing control over them. The indictment also details separate human smuggling activities, with at least 9 individuals transported through stash houses in the Rio Grande Valley before being taken to Houston. Among them were 2 Chinese nationals, who allegedly paid more than $40,000 each. During law enforcement raids, authorities found 16 additional smuggled individuals hidden in stash houses throughout the area. Beyond human trafficking and smuggling, the gang was also allegedly involved in drug distribution and the sale of stolen firearms. The indictment states that firearms were sold as part of criminal enterprises operating within the gang's network. If convicted, the defendants face severe penalties. Those charged with sex trafficking face 15 years to life imprisonment, while drug trafficking carries a sentence of 10 years to life. Federal authorities continue to investigate the Southwest Cholos gang's criminal network, working to dismantle its operations in human trafficking, drug smuggling, and weapons distribution.
Yeah, Keith, we're talking about a war between 2 gangs, the 103 and the YSB. That's on the south side, central and southeast Houston to be exact. And the district attorney's office tells us that between that turf war between those 2 gangs, they're responsible for some 51 murders since 2011, 28 of which took place last year, and many of those have gone unsolved. And so that's why tonight the DA is calling for more witnesses to come forward, including those who may know something about the 3 additional for which Johnson has not been charged, but tonight remains the primary suspect.
They call Kendrick Johnson an MVP on social media, most valuable player. They also call him a sniper. He is deadly and high risk, but he's not the only one.
Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg on Johnson, but even bigger, the circle for which Ogg says Johnson serves as an axis. The 103 gang on Houston's south side in a bloody, deadly turf war against rival gang YSB.
OMB bloodbath. She was very surprised when she was taken into custody inside a Harris County courtroom and then led into a holding area. Only our cameras were there as Nix was arrested by bailiffs and taken to that holding area in the court. Now, according to court documents we've reviewed, Nix is charged with directing activities of certain criminal street gangs. These are felony charges. According to those documents, Nix is accused of unlawfully, as part of an identifiable leadership of a street gang, namely 100% 3rd Ward and 103, knowingly did finance, direct, and supervise the commission of the offense of murder, aggravated assault, and aggravated robbery by members of said criminal street gang. We're told that these charges dates back to an incident that happened in October of 2017. Now, according to police at the time, 4 men with rifles and an assault weapon shot 2 people in the 6800 block of London Street in southeast Houston. The men then crashed their car and proceeded to carjack a woman and her 11-month-old niece in a minivan. Sources telling us that the charges currently filed against Nix are related to that crime.
Houston rapper OMB Bloodbath, born Alexandra Nix, is facing racketeering charges for her alleged role in a 2017 gang-related deletion. Prosecutors accuse her of violating the Texas RICO Act as a member of the 100% 3rd Ward 103 gang, alleging she financed, directed, and supervised the deletion of Sam Johnson while incarcerated at Harris County Jail. A federal grand jury indictment names OMB Bloodbath and 5 other alleged gang members, charging them with aiding and abetting the use of a firearm to commit murder in aid of racketeering. The 103 gang, operating in Houston's 3rd Ward, is known for deletion, drug distribution, robbery, and violent assaults. According to court documents, on October 15, 2017, while incarcerated, OMB Bloodbath spoke with a gang leader, discussing her upcoming record deal and stating she would pay younger gang members to commit a shooting. Before ending the call, she allegedly said, "You're going to have some good news in the morning when you turn on Channel 13. The next day, on October 16, 2017, Sam Johnson, 53, was shot and met his demise while walking home in Houston's 3rd Ward. Surveillance footage showed 4 gunmen in a stolen Mazda driving by and opening fire, with Johnson meeting his demise while another young Scott Block gang member survived. After crashing into a ditch, the gunmen carjacked a woman and her infant before escaping. Investigators later recovered text messages, surveillance video, and ballistic evidence, linking DeAndre Watson, one of the shooters, to the crime. Police also obtained Instagram messages between OMB Bloodbath and the suspects, further implicating her in the attack. Watson was convicted of deletion and sentenced to life in prison. Prosecutors described Johnson as an innocent victim caught in a gang war between 103 and NYSB gangs, emphasizing that Watson saw his life as collateral damage. If convicted, she and the other defendants could face significant federal prison sentences under RICO laws. The wave of gang indictments and arrests across Texas reflects law enforcement's relentless commitment to eradicating violent street gangs and protecting communities from their influence. While significant progress has been made with numerous convictions and high-ranking gang members facing life sentences, the fight against organized crime remains ongoing. Authorities continue to monitor and dismantle these criminal networks, ensuring that those responsible for violent crimes, drug trafficking, and human exploitation are prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. However, officials emphasize that law enforcement alone cannot solve the problem. Community intervention, youth programs, and rehabilitation efforts are crucial in preventing future generations from being drawn into gang life. As federal and local agencies push forward with intelligence-driven investigations and large-scale operations, they reaffirm their mission to hold violent offenders accountable, bring justice to victims, and restore safety to Texas communities.